Welcome to the Natural Horse Talk podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Ross Williams, and today I'll be chatting with Susan Livesey. Livesey? How do you pronounce that, Susan?
Livesey. Susan Livesey.
Okay. So I'm going to be chatting with Susan Livesey, herbalist and owner of Natural Sage Herbs. Susan wrote a fantastic article, Calming Herbs to Manage Stress in Horses, for our January, February, March issue of Natural Horse Magazine, which is www.naturalhorse.com. Welcome, Susan. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Oh, I'm glad that I could be here and write an article for the magazine.
Well, we really, really appreciate your support. You are a wealth of information. So before we jump right into the topic of these calming herbs, please tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into herbalism.
Well, I've raised horses for my entire life, showed ring cow horses and cutting horses, and then, of course, taught plant animal sciences. I've got a master's degree in that area. I'm also a biologist. And over the years, I realized that animals needed more than chemicals. Chemicals weren't meeting with satisfaction treating them. And I used herbs with my classes, with kids' projects for future farmers, with my own horses, and found them far superior in treating conditions in animals. So I went from there and I started my own business about 10 years ago, making products because I had clients then that needed certain things. They had horseshoes that needed organic remedies that weren't harmful, and other people asking me to make herbs and essential oils for their animals. So it just kind of skyrocketed from there. And then research.
So Natural Sage has been going, you said, about 10 years now?
Right, 10 years.
Okay, and you're based out of California, correct?
Yes, out of California.
Okay. Well, let's first address the topic of stress in horses. You know, just as with humans, prolonged stress is just so detrimental to the body, both physically and emotionally. And I think it's what is far too common as well is that many equine caregivers don't even know that their horse is stressed or how stressed that horse is. So in your opinion, what are some of the main stressors in a horse's life?
Oh, the main stressors, of course, are improper training and post-traumatic stress from that, injury, or constant damaging work, mechanical stresses that can cause lameness, inflammation, pain, or swelling. Then we have nutritional or metabolic deficiencies that cause stress. My article covers some of that, but, where the physical needs of the horse haven't been met. And then last, of course, we've got genetic stress factors that, like disease, high stress cortisol levels, that we can address all those problems with herbs in horses.
Well, what about, also, and you talk like physical, but like unnatural environments. I don't think that, of course, me being the publisher of Natural Horse Magazine, we really try to educate people about really what a natural environment is for horses. And being stuck in a stall, except for then being worked, I think is extremely, or being separated from other horses and not having the ability to be part of the herd. Do you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Horses are, individuals that see the world differently than we do. Their survival depends on, they're prey animals. Their survival depends on fight or flight. Also, Mustangs have been studied enough in the wild to know that they travel 25 miles a day and constantly are eating along that route to get food, water, to stay with the herd. So all the things we do, we stick horses in unnatural environments and corrals or just stalls, box stalls. They're not out in their natural environment we're meant to be in. So we need to change those factors too, of course, with horses.
Absolutely.
By many methods.
Well, you wrote about like some of the daily signs of stress in your article. Can you give us some examples of what people might see in a stressful or stressed out horse?
Well, a stressed out horse will have daily signs to tell us with constant agitation, pawing, cribbing, potentially stall weaving, excessive tail swishing, or ears back. The horse will be stiff. The muscles will be stiff, constant fear in the body with the will be tense, the tail up, eyes wide. I had one client that I treated that the horse completely lost its tail from stress and constantly had high stress cortisol levels, which means it was always tense, always looking for a predator, basically, always standing in his corral looking for something to harm him. So we treated, this example of stress in a horse, but high stress cortisol, and we treated that horse with herbs, which we'll get into, I know, later, but as an example.
So there are some pretty common examples of that, but I also want to stress that some horses are extremely stoic, and we actually had a Mustang Smoky. He's since passed, but I call them zombie horses, and it's those horses who have so completely shut down emotionally, but can explode if they're pushed too far. And so I think a lot of people go, oh, my horse he's not showing any signs. And I think actually these zombie horses who completely shut down are in extreme danger from the stress. Do you agree?
Oh, absolutely. That's what the body does, definitely. With high stress cortisol levels, it's not just constant irritation, but it can be a shutdown situation where the horse, and it's, there's been research done on horses by measuring pain, by looking at their facial expressions and eyes, nose, ears, but some horses just don't, emit that type of information to us very well. So we definitely have to analyze every horse individually. They're all different.
Well, in your article, you talked about the adaptogens, the herbs. Can you explain that term so our listeners understand when we start talking about the herbs? What does adaptogen herbs actually mean?
Well, there's some better adaptogen herbs than others, but and I hit one herb hard and heavy in the article that I've used extensively with horses. But an adaptogen herb is one that will adapt the body to stressful conditions, will lower stress cortisol, will adjust blood pressure, will adjust organ function even in the animal, and that's all through safe methods of, that's why we call them adaptogens, but because the body literally adapts to stress.
Okay, well that makes sense. Now, we're going to go ahead and take a real quick break for our sponsor, but when we come back, there's 5 specific herbs that you talked about in your article. So I kind of want to go into detail for each one of those. So everybody, we're going to take a quick break for our sponsor, EquiSpirit Toys and Tools, and we will be right back.
Horseplay has never been so much fun. These tough EquiSpirit balls come in lots of styles and 2 sizes. They're extra heavy duty and hold up to even the friskiest play and exciting ground exercises or mounted games. Stimulate your horse's mind, body, and spirit with an EquiSpirit ball. To order, visit equa-spirit-toys.com.
Okay, and welcome back to the Natural Horse Talk podcast. I'm talking with Susan from Natural Sage Herbs about calming herbs that can be used with horses. Again, she wrote a fantastic article that's going to be coming out in the January, February, March issue. And we've kind of talked about what stresses are, how environments play into it. But now we're going to get into some of the 5 specific herbs used for stress. So if we can, let's start with the first one, and I know I'm going to mispronounce it, so I'll just start. The ashwagandha, or how do you pronounce that, Susan?
It's a tough one. Ashwagandha.
ashwagandha root. Okay, so explain that a little bit and what it's used for and how that you use it when you're dosing horses.
Well, ashwagandha is a classic adaptogen that helps the body or will strengthen the body's resistance to stress. It is in the nightshade family, which doesn't mean much, it's just a family. It promotes physical and mental health in both animals and humans, and it's been used in Ayurvedic medicine for thousands of years, and that's a type of herbal medicine in India. It's a pungent herb, sweet herb that stimulates digestion, improves circulation, clears mucus, strengthens and nourishes the nervous system. Research has shown that it's anti-inflammatory, anti-tumor, anti-stress, antioxidant, modulates the immune system, and has rejuvenating properties. It influences the endocrine, cardiopulmonary, and central nervous system too. In animals or people, it's used in veterinary medicine or alternative veterinary medicine. It's used for humans also. In physical stress and stress reduction, ashwagandha, it's great for anti-stress and has anabolic activities that counteract many incidences of stress, including changes in blood sugar, adrenal function, and stress cortisol levels, and protects, of course, the heart and is an anticoagulant. So as an anticoagulant, it will thin the blood and organs will function better, and painful areas will have blood flow to them. So that'll reduce inflammation.
Wow, that sounds like a pretty powerful herb there that you're starting with.
Yes, it is. It's one of the best and safest too. It is a very safe adaptogen, which I've used for many years for horses. In many situations, actually, I use it in Cushing's. I use it in everyday stressors for horses. It's alone by itself. It's a good herb, or in a formula, and I use it both ways. It'll depend on the horse too.
And is that usually like a powdered form?
You can, it'll come if you buy it. You can easily buy it, source it from many of our herb supplies that actually test herbs, and we know that they're the correct herb. So it'll come in a powder, or it'll come in a cut version. You don't want the cut version because you're going to have to powder it for horses to feed in bran, or whatever formula you wish to feed it in, even grain. I don't normally feed grain, but the horse, it usually ashwagandha takes a bit longer because it is an adaptogen. The whole body will be adapted for stress. So it will take about 2 to 3 weeks. Sometimes it works quicker in a horse. Sometimes it works in a week in a horse. It depends on, every horse has an individual ecology. We have to take that into consideration, but I find it works within 2 or 3 weeks to adapt the horse's body to stress. All
right. Well, the next one that you discussed in your article was skullcap. So tell us a little bit about that amazing herb.
That is a native herb we have in North America, and it's used for many years, thousands and thousands of years, centuries, or thousands and thousands of years, both, for nervous tension or anxiety, to relieve pain from nerve-related injuries or disease. Historically, skullcap's been used to treat epilepsy, seizures, convulsions, multiple sclerosis, for tremors, anxiety, and even in the 18th century, they used it for rabies. But it's definitely I use it a lot. It's a sedative and antispasmodic, has both those qualities, but I use it a lot for epilepsy in animals, but it is also a very good, and it could be considered also an adaptogen, but it's good for nervous excitability in dogs, cats, and horses, and any condition characterized by oversensitivity of the peripheral nerves. nervous tension, nerve pain, traumatic.
I may need to talk to you about that because our puppy Bravo, he's a Great Pyrenees, and he'll be a year old in February, but he is the smartest dog, but he's extremely sensitive to weird things. And I know that he's still a pup, and you know, but it seems like a little more overreactive. So I think maybe when we're done with this interview, I might want to talk to you a little bit about him, and maybe if that skullcap might be able to help him become a little braver, because his name is Bravo Braveheart. So it's like, come on, we got to get you brave. All right, well, passion flower. Now, I'm fascinated by this because I actually take chrysin, which is made from passion flower, and it's a natural estrogen blocker for my breast cancer. So when I saw the passion flower in your article, I thought, oh, wow, I'm actually using that for, again, as a natural estrogen blocker. So tell us a little bit about this gorgeous herb, gorgeous flower when you're growing it at home.
Yes, it is beautiful. It's a sedative herb, passion flower, sedative, antispasmodic, pain relieving. I usually mix it in with skullcap for neuralgia, for insomnia, for epilepsy, for dogs, cats, and humans. But it'll also calm spasmodic asthma, used to treat. The Native Americans used it to treat wounds, earaches, and liver problems. But it has a beautiful flower, so it's a resemblance. Really, the flower parts are a resemblance to the crucifix or symbols of the last days of Jesus. That's why it's called a passion flower. And horses can safely eat this. I don't usually use it alone. I use it in a formula with skullcap and oat straw and chamomile and other herbs, but that's an example. And both skullcap and passion flower can be given at 3 to 5 tablespoons to horses 2 to 3 times a day. Most of my clients I have feed twice a day. Usually we don't need to feed 3 times a day, but you can in feed. And you can powder all of these herbs, or with horses powder them, or you can give them just the leaf cut and sifted, as they call it, the flower or the leaf, and dried without powdering it too. It also comes. You can also buy it in tincture, but usually those tinctures are in alcohol form. You can give a horse 2 tablespoons of tincture of either one of these, or passion flower or skullcap, per day too. I usually don't bother with the tinctures in horses because it's cheaper feeding powders, and they'll eat powder, and they'll also eat the plant material itself, the dried plant material.
Right. Okay, so then the next one was oat straw, and I thought this was a pretty fascinating herb. Tell us about that.
That one I always use well, not always, but that one I put in a formula usually for stress with passion flower and skullcap, and it's the oats you think of, the rolled oats that you have in your cereal in the morning, but it's from the flowering or milky tops, the post-flowering tops or milky oats we see in the springtime that grow all over hills in both California, well, throughout the United States, of course, and Arizona. Oat straw improves nerve function, is anti-inflammatory and nutritive, and is best used as a nervous tonic for aging or debilitated horses or animals, dogs, cats. Also humans. I use it in a tea formula for humans with oat straw, passion flower, skullcap. The herb contains protein, manganese, iron, copper, zinc, along with constituents that help highs and lows, to optimize that nervous system function. You can feed, when fed in moderation to animals with chronic nervousness, oat straw has a calming effect. But when you feed it to debilitated animals, it tends to stimulate the nervous system. So you have to be a little careful that way with oat straw. In other words, don't feed too much of any of the herbs.
Right.
And of course, you can feed rolled oats, a cupful or a handful to horses of rolled oats, and that is similar, is basically, what we're talking about with oat straw. And you don't have to powder this either.
Okay. So valerian, that's a pretty common one. I think most people have heard of that. Tell us a little bit about that herb.
And, of course, that's been used for thousands of years also as a sedative. It's more a sedative than any of the others. I take this one out sometimes of my formulas because horses don't like the taste of it or the smell. It has a specific smell of, what people think of as dirty socks. Some horses will eat it fine, others won't, and but it's used as a sedative. It calms the nerves and achieves relaxation. People take it to sleep on also. You can't use it all the time. It's better when you use it in small amounts on and off. It helps nervous anxiety. It helps the body to relax in the presence of physical pain. It's an antispasmodic and anticonvulsive, expels intestinal gas, and lowers blood pressure. Helps for noises that animals are scared of with thunderstorms, or if you're taking a horse to a horse show or event with trips or after surgery, valerian helps quite a bit with that, with the calming properties that it has, antispasmodic properties. It's phenobarbital is used in the central nervous system depressant for animals that have convulsions, epilepsy, which can destroy the liver cells. And I've treated a lot of animals after they've been on phenobarbital with herbs, but also switch them from phenobarbital to valerian or also skullcap, passion flower, oat straw, that combination if they don't eat valerian, or if they're sensitive to valerian, don't want to eat it. But valerian is shown to, well, I don't want to get into the scientific portions of it, but because it can go on. But valerian is effective when used over a period of several days for a stressful event for horses, but not the only time I use it all the time is for epilepsy, basically, for horses. And also if we need a little additional relaxation benefits, then skullcap and oat straw and passion flower combination, ashwagandha also give us. But usually valerian, it will depend on the horse whether I use it or not. It is a safe herb, and it can be, I also use it in another formula, works great, is with an essential formula, oil formula, organic essential oils, made with valerian root, sweet marjoram, vetiver, petitgrain, and sweet orange, and that's natural stage calming oils. Makes an effective stress-reducing agent since they can easily be applied topically to the horse's neck or forehead and will enter the blood-brain barrier immediately, which will induce a calming response for the animal. And, of course, that one's great for when you have a horse show come and work on a horse. And, the horse has had a bad experience with the horse shower. It will have an instant calming effect on that horse, which is great.
That's awesome. Okay, so last but not least, German chamomile. And, again, that's probably one that a lot of people have heard of. Tell us about this last one.
And that one I use in a lot of formulas for colic, usually I don't use it alone, but I will use it in with skullcap, passion flower, ashwagandha, oat straw, and horses love the taste and flavor. It stimulates digestion. It expels gas. It's antispasmodic. Great for internal problems such as colic. It also expels parasites to some extent. I use that in another formula, or combine it with some of my parasite control herbs. But it's a mild sedative, generally effective with broad spectrum attributes. Chamomile is a safe adjunct to use in case of digestive upsets due to nervousness and hyperexcitability caused by stress.
And And the horses seem to enjoy the taste of it as well. It's kind of almost has a sweet flavor to it.
Yes, they love the taste, they love the smell, and horses are very sensitive to both. And great for digestion in horses. You just don't want to use excessive amounts because it can contribute to fetus, well, it's been shown in excessive studies to contribute to fetus reabsorption or inhibit fetus growth in some animals. And that's in those studies, that's when they fed excessive amounts to see what rats will do usually, whether the fetus will be affected. So most herbs are not used in, and I say most, it will depend on it. Most herbs are not used in pregnant animals simply because there's just not enough research. We don't have enough research to know what how it will affect pregnant lactating animals. But we do know the chemical constituents of most herbs, so we look at each individual herb and then decide if it's safe for pregnant animals. This one I wouldn't use in a pregnant animal.
Okay. Well, tell us a little bit more about your company, Natural Sage Herbs. Again, you said you started about 10 years ago. You're based out of California. Tell us, if people come to visit your website, which is naturalsage.com, what they're going to find. I mean, you've got your products there, but you also have some informational to teach people about different things. So tell us a little bit more about what your company offers.
The company offers, well, since I'm in a California area with a lot of horses, people come to me to get formulas, and I'll evaluate each individual horse and then determine what's best or what seems to be the problem in the horse too. Those are individual formulas, and a lot of those I don't have on my website. But and those I can easily make and then ship if needed. But usually I can usually evaluate a horse from a phone conversation too. Most of the products, and I need to put more formulas on my website too. The ones that I use regularly for pain and arthritis, for stress, for the herbs I constantly make and I'm constantly giving to horse owners. But most of the other products on the site are all certified organic products that are alternatives to using, chemicals on horses, such as hoof pack, which is herbal antibiotic salves, or salve, if you want to call it that, either way. Anti-itch for dogs and cats. A lot of formulas that are all organic, have no chemicals or no toxic chemicals. Of course, herbs have chemicals in them, but no toxic chemicals or unnatural chemicals that are man-made chemicals that are going to hurt the animal. The website is dedicated to that, to give people alternatives to use on sensitive individuals, on any individual, horse, dog, cat, and there's some human products there too.
Okay, and again, so that website is www.naturalsage.com. Again, that's naturalsage.com. So, Susan, go ahead.
I will put the formulas that we talked about, the stress and calming. I need to put it up on that website so people can see it too. But I'll include that in my shopping cart buy page, just so all the formulas, not all the formulas are there, but I'll put that one up so people can look at it, especially since we've talked about herbs to use in stressful situations with horse to calm horses, basically.
All right. Well, Susan, in closing, what final message would you like to leave our listeners with when it comes to stressed out horses and herbs?
Never give up on a horse. Every horse has individual ecology, and anything chemical-wise that you've used, herbs can treat a condition safer and effectively. Sometimes it'll take me a couple of tries to get a perfect formula, but there's great adaptogens like ashwagandha to use alone on horses for stress and calming, or you can combine them with the other herbs like skullcap, passion flower, oat straw, and valerian if you want to. Valerian sometimes I use. But herbs can take the place of harmful chemicals. Harmful chemicals, we've got to realize, do adverse things to the body. They can adversely affect kidney liver function and will adversely affect kidney liver function and also blood flow. So, and many other things with man-made chemicals. That's why herbs work synergistically together in a formula. They also are synergistic with all the complex chemicals that Mother Nature has included in those herbs. And it can truly be amazing the effect they have on stress in horses, and a calming, safe effect. Safe for their digestion, safe for everyday uses for a horse. And also don't have to be outrageously expensive like chemicals. Most 1-pound packages that I make run about $45. You'll need usually, for horses, depending on the size of the horse, about maybe 2 pounds per month on a normal size 1,000-pound horse. So it'll run, $80 to $90. And much cheaper than many chemicals. Well, like phenobarbital, I had one client that was paying $900 a month for phenobarbital, and of course the poor pony's liver was completely destroyed by the time I started treating the horse with herbs. But the pony stopped having epileptic seizures almost immediately. We have to feed the pony 3 times a day. But also the liver cells are regenerating, and so the blood work looks much better on that pony too. So there's hope in every individual, with every animal. There's hope with herbs. That's the main reason I do this. I
can tell it's your passion, and thankfully we have people just like you who are out there giving horse caregivers and animal guardians options out there. And I always say I wish people would first start with the complementary integrative therapies instead of starting with the heavy-duty drugs and then going, I need help. Why don't we start with something that's a little bit more safer for the body, and then if you feel that you need to move on to something a little more stronger. But that's kind of my wish, is people would start basic instead of starting with the hardcore stuff. But well, Susan, thank you so much for being with us today. I think our listeners are going to get a lot of information out here, and hopefully they do read your article. Again, that'll be coming out in our January, February, March issue. So this Natural Horse Talk podcast, excuse me, comes courtesy of Natural Horse Magazine. There goes my cough. I was holding it off. So to learn more about Natural Horse Magazine, we have over 21 years worth of archives. That website is www.naturalhorse.com. Again, www.naturalhorse.com. And that's it for this Natural Horse Talk podcast. And until next time, I'm your host, Lisa Ross Williams. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.